distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends and strangers. We don't often acknowledge strangers or the strange amongst us. I do so because it is not until the strange or the stranger, it is not until we sit, we discuss, we converse, that these strangers, or sometimes the strange amongst us, become, in fact, our friends. So this relates, of course, to what the Rumi Forum is about. Bringing together people and ideas, no matter how different they are, to look at commonalities and to help overcome ignorance and misunderstanding. Because at the very heart of prejudice, of racism, of bigotry, lies ignorance. The fact that we don't know the other, whoever that other is, and there are many contexts for the other. In recent history, of course, we've seen and quoted by our honorary president, Mr. Fethullah Gulen, in regards to the horrific incident that we all recall each year on September 11. As a result of one such act, we have unfortunately misunderstood and on occasion have had misrepresented the community of American Muslims and the broader Muslim community. So it's important that the wider American community, as well as the various different ethnic, cultural, faith-based communities, do their part to reach out to one another. Dialogue at its very essence is a two-way process, and this is very important, as sometimes it may be misunderstood that one minority group is being ostracized or being misunderstood, but similarly within these smaller groups there is misunderstanding about the wider community. So this process of two-way dialogue helps overcome this and helps bridge that gap that can exist, sometimes superficially, sometimes ignited by various incidents. But our role is, of course, crucial. And that first step, and of course I started my address off with the word of strange and stranger, but that first step towards overcoming misunderstanding, towards the goal of friendship is very important. The Rumi Forum is about bringing people of different backgrounds together. We've ventured to do this over the last 10 years based in DC, and we're very fortunate that this is spread into other regions and counties, and in particular over this last year Delaware has been very active in bringing together community members and the leadership of Delaware. I would just like to recall one personal incident before I leave the microphone. I thank you for your patience. If you haven't already picked up, I'm not American from my accent. I'm Australian. I recently arrived. I've just recently completed 2 months in this good country of yours. I'm not from Brooklyn, as someone has suggested previously. It's not a Brooklyn accent. If you think it is, you should get out more often, as we say in Australia. Leave the shores of Delaware, maybe. But I grew up in Australia. I spent all my life, bar the last 2 months, in Australia. I'm a Sydney boy, and I'm very fortunate to have become involved in these types of intercultural activities, which I suspect has led me to these fine shores here in the United States to bring some of that experience in diversity and multiculturalism. We, through the concept of the Abrahamic faiths, value the concept of breaking bread. It's a very important Judeo-Christian tradition, which is what we're doing today. The hospitality, when we look at the life of Abraham, is crucial in terms of being a role model for all of our faiths, or for those not of faith, in terms of tradition. Very important in bringing people together. Food and music tends to do that. I had the very good fortune of being involved in numerous projects in Australia regarding bringing people together. And of course that concept of Abrahamic hospitality is espoused through what is known as the Iftar dinner. Some of you may know that Muslims fast for a month, and as one priest said, it's like 30 Christmas dinners in a row. We fast during the day and then we break our fast, and that dinner is known as Iftar. And it's a very communal activity. So every night you would initially start off with family and friends, and then invite members of the wider community to share in that blessedness. Of course, I have the opportunity of explaining this in numerous places, and on one occasion I did so to a Jewish audience, and I spoke about the Iftar dinner and the fact that it's very important that we break bread and we come together. But there's also a secondary meal that not too many people know about. The Iftar is the breaking of the fast in the evening, and we come together with our friends and break our fast. But there's also the breakfast, the pre-fast meal, which is known as the Sahur meal, where we would get up at 3 or 4 in the morning before the sun begins to rise, before dawn. Of course, the significance of this was, to my numerous audiences that I always recollect this story to, is I make this wish or prayer. I say, may our friendship increase so much, may it increase so much, instead of coming together of an evening, we can come together for this other special meal. And of course I get laughter. And I put this as a challenge on numerous occasions, and let this be a challenge to Delaware. Let us see which state succeeds. I put it as a challenge to my friends in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, and now that I'm in the United States, I've mentioned this throughout Virginia and Maryland and in upstate New York and various other places. I say, may the occasion or our friendship increase so much in terms of wanting to learn about one another, in terms of coming around together around special meals, that we come together of an early morning. Of course, that may seem difficult, but on that occasion, I sat down and the president of one of the Jewish organizations came to me and said, "You're on. I'll start as an example. I'll come to your home." He did so. He got up, living 1 hour away from my home at 2 a.m., drove to my house with his family, and we sat and had this meal. The following year, he came with 3 families. So I use this as an example. So it's not impossible, it's not theoretical, it's difficult, but it's possible. So this is where, and that person was, as I've mentioned to you, he was a stranger, and we've, as a result of that, have become very close friends. So as a result of wanting to learn about other people's traditions, other people's practices, other people's way of breaking bread, it's very important that we realize that the ultimate goal is greater understanding, community harmony, and of course, friendship, so we can move from being strangers to being friends. Thank you.